Hey guys, welcome back. So, been a while since you saw some Miata content, but the good news is we're going to have some for the next week or two. We're going to be working on this car. I've only got a few days where I got to go to work, and then I got weekends and a week of vacation, so it's going to be good. We're going to get some stuff done. We're going to see how far we can get in a couple weeks. So the reason you haven't been seeing Miata content is not because I haven't been working, but I have a shop and I have a customer car. In case you haven't saw the other videos, I'm going to start doing videos on this car as well. But this is a 2016 GT350, and it's got a twin turbo, built, actually swapped trans, swapped diff, everything's built. This thing's going to be a rocket ship when it's done, and we're going to be doing some custom work on it to improve performance and reliability. So be sure to stick around to see that. Alright, so my car, what are we going to do? Well, right now it's just a shell, no suspension, no subframes. We're going to fix that. So a while back, we took our front suspension and we basically took like wire wheels and acetone and rags, cleaned everything as good as we could within probably about a 4-hour time frame. I masked off a lot of stuff, like you can see stuff like that where suspension parts hit and bolts go. We masked off those and we painted it. This is that Pour 15 chassis black. They look pretty nice. I'm not saying they're perfect. They look a million times better than before. Probably looks better on video than real life, but hey, it's suspension stuff. You're not going to be staring at this all the time. It looks a million times better. But we only did the front. We didn't do the rear. Now the thing is with the front, we did not sandblast because these have wheel bearings and stuff, and I didn't want to get into taking that apart. And they have ball joints and pretend like you don't see that. So that's why we didn't sandblast those. We just cleaned them. However, for the rear control arms, and dang it, I just realized I forgot about the uprights. Whoops. Oh well. But for the rear control arms, we decided we would blast these. So I have a blast cabinet, a sandblaster, just a little Harbor Freight setup with a ventilation kit. But we ran them through here. Took a while. That was kind of slow. I'm kind of new to sandblasting, but I think the media just wears out or something. I don't know. It seems to get slower over time. But we blasted these, got them, down to like bare metal, really nice and clean. In fact, let me see if I can get a camera. Yeah, like you can see the insides in there maybe, how clean that is. The whole parts look like that. And so basically we did that, and another important thing we did was so after sandblasting them, I took an air gun, got all the dust off, and I took a torch and just briefly heated the metal, and you actually see it looks like it like outgasses and changes colors. It's kind of weird, but it somehow gets like oils and stuff out of the metal. And it also heats them up, which kind of helps the paint to stick a little better. So we did that. We put a single coat, and then we're working on the second coat right now. And I'm going to do a separate video about this, but I think I finally figured out how to use this chassis black. Now it took painting the entire damn car with it, plus some suspension, plus the subframes before I really figured this out. But I think I finally figured out how to get good results. It's not really easy though. But these control arms are looking awesome. I got a feeling when these dry, these are going to be the best looking parts I've done. So I'll do a separate video on that. But the good news is we're gonna get these. The second coat is on now. We're letting this dry. Maybe in about a half hour, an hour, we're going to flip them over and get the top coat, the second coat on the other side, which will be the tops of these, the part that you're going to probably see the most, maybe. So we're going to get that done today. And our game plan. So it's kind of late at night, or at least it's nighttime. So we'll get the final coat. We'll maybe do a little more work. But basically next steps is we got a lot of reassembly to do on the chassis. So we've got our front subframe and our rear subframe. We painted those a while back. Got them, yeah, they're just sitting over here. So these guys will get put back in the car. Like I said, these are ready to go. So we'll get those. I got to find the bolts and stuff, but I've got I actually got kind of organized. I've got all these bins now, so part of running a shop is to try to stay clean or at least stay organized, or just try. So I have these like storage bins that I keep under my shelves. They got labels to kind of tell you what stuff is. So I've got a whole bunch of parts in there, and we're basically going to install the front subframe, install the rear subframe, front suspension, rear differential. The differential we have over here somewhere. It's I think it's ready to go. We had cleaned it up. I don't think we painted it or anything, but we did get this thing cleaned up. Yeah, it's hiding under here, looking beautiful. we'll look into doing those front bushings. We might change those, we may not. But yeah, that's got to go back in the car, of course, with the axles and all the rear suspension and uprights and brakes and calipers. Same stuff for the front. And at that point, this guy. So we've still got some work to do here. We had I need to do a video on this. This is our version 2 of our water inlet. So we made one of these a while back. Actually made 2 and sold one of them. And I thought about it and I was like, you know, I'd like to make a batch of these and try to sell them. I think there's a market for this. And but I wanted to do a better design, and this is what I came up with. And this one is so much better, in my opinion, than the last one. But I'll do a separate video detailing that. However, as you can see, timing belt's loose. So I gotta go find my bolts, get the timing belt put in with our tensioner and idler. Our fuel pump setup should be good to go. And this actually works fine, but it looks like cancer. So we may remake that piece just so it doesn't look as ugly. And we'll see. But this motor's got to get put back in the car. So over the next few days, hopefully quickly, we'll get the subframes in, all the suspension. It's actually quite a bit of work to me, but hopefully it goes fast. Get all that crap put back together, and eventually we'll have a rolling chassis. And then, of course, the motor and transmission assembly, that goes back in, gets bolted into the subframe. The hope will be that this is the final installation of these components. That's the key. I don't want to have to take all this apart again. So I'm trying to make sure I get all the important work done that needs to be done out of the vehicle before it goes back in the vehicle. So I guess we should probably, yeah, we'll pull the rags and just make sure we're not missing something. But anyway, get all that done, get this back in the car, and go from there. So like we'd mentioned, we want to get as much as we can in a couple weeks. So I'm not sure how far this is going to go, because there is still a little bit of fab work to do. One of them is the fuel tank. We'll come back to that in a second. So another one, if you look in the back here, there's some nice metal. So this bottom sheet, it's been laser cut. Me trying to save weight, I probably made that a little too tight, so it might be difficult to install. And then I got this rear piece that's going to require some modification and trimming to get it to fit correctly. But you can imagine that's going to be like a straight wall going down. And so that'll be basically our firewall for the back. So we got some work to do there. But yeah, we got to get that done. And there's plenty to do in here because there's basically nothing but a seat. So we still got to do, from a fabrication standpoint, we got to get a steering column in here. So now that the cage is in and the seat's in, once we get the front subframe back in, we got to get our steering rack, and you know, I left some of that stuff out, but all that's got to go back in the car. Yeah, there it is. Here's our steering rack. We successfully destroyed the threads on these last time we took it apart, so I got to remember to order new outer tie rods. Pop those on, get the steering rack in there. We have a aftermarket steering column. Get that put in the car, and basically we got to mock up, or we got to fabricate and install the material to hold the steering column in the car. Now I've already painted everything, so one option, I'm just kind of thinking this through, one option would be to build a assembly that bolts into the car, just because then I won't have to weld. We'll look into that. That may be doable. I really don't know. But it's definitely a thought. I actually bought one of those rivet guns where you can like drill a hole and rivet a nut into the body. Perhaps those will come in handy. But yeah, the steering wheel, that's a big one. The shifter's got to go in. We need to decide what gauges we're going to do and what, if anything, like I've got a tachometer, maybe a boost gauge, I don't know, just whatever seems important. That I have all the gauges. I bought a ton of gauges. We could just put them all in, but we're definitely going to install a few. So we got to figure that out and where they're going to go and build something to attach them to. But the point is, this car's been sitting forever, and the goal is I want to slap it together, because at the time of filming, we just hit the beginning of June. And that means we're halfway through this year. This car started off going well in the beginning of the year, and then it's just been sitting. Which, like I said, been working on other stuff. But I got to get this car going. I miss driving this car. It's one of my favorite hobbies, is going to the racetrack and hurting people's feelings with this. So we got to get this sucker finished. And it's not that far away. I've done so much work to get it to this point that it's really not that far. For example, when we're back to a roller, I mean, this motor runs. There's really nothing to do. I mean, you've got like a little bit of valve cover shit for like crankcase ventilation and a VVT oil feed. I mean, there's probably a little bit of work. It's not much. I already did all the hard work. Probably the hardest thing, if I was going to do anything, would probably be a paint job. You know? So, it's not really that big a deal. Get that sucker going. Get it back in the car. We got to wire the car, but there's not that much work. Probably the biggest thing is the 17-volt system, and it's already been designed. It does need to get built and do a little bit of testing just to make sure it's robust enough, and then we'll commit to putting that in the car. So, I don't know. I'm not sure what I'm missing. I don't think there's that much shit to do, and this could be back to driving. The front end, all the body panels will bolt right up. All the stuff's in place, so it looks like everything's missing, but there's really no work to reassemble. It just bolts back up, no big deal. The back of the car, there's a little bit of work back here. The tail lights bolt in. The trunk does not. Somebody got reckless and basically cut every single thing out of the back of the car, literally. So we bought an aftermarket trunk lid. We tried to like lightweight our stock one. That was fail. We bought this one. I think it's more warped than my modified one, which makes me sad. So we may end up running the stock one and just trying to not make it not warped. I don't know. I bought this one, but by the time I get it to be straight, it's going to weigh as much as the stock one, so I don't know. We'll figure that out. Maybe I can sell this one. But yeah, the goal is we need to slap this thing together. There's really not that much work to do. The chassis was a shitload of work. The chassis work's done. We need to get this thing back on the road. Well, not on the road. Okay, not back on the road, but back at the drag strip. So, y'all hang on. Enjoy the ride. We're about to get some shit done. Alright guys, till next time, y'all take it easy.